I stood at Portland International Airport, staring at my old suitcase as it sat heavy by my feet. The terminal was bustling, and the noise of people talking, children crying, and announcements over the loudspeaker felt like a constant hum around me. I had been standing there for what felt like forever, waiting for my son, Liam, to show up. I had my mind set on the vacation we had been planning for months, a family trip to Hawaii. We hadn't had a proper vacation in years, and this was supposed to be our time. The smell of burnt coffee from a kiosk nearby mixed with the sharp fragrance of perfume that lingered in the air, and I checked my watch. 9:17 a.m. He should have been here by now. Where was Liam? I looked around, watching a woman drag a toddler behind her, a businessman arguing into his phone, and a group of teenagers laughing and taking selfies, but I didn't see Liam. I felt a knot form in my stomach, the worry creeping in. He had been planning this trip with me for months. This was supposed to be our time, a break from the usual grind. I pulled out my phone and tapped the screen, trying to distract myself from the anxiety that was building. I dialed Liam's number, tapping my fingers nervously against the phone. The screen stayed blank. No answer. Maybe he's stuck in traffic, I thought, trying to calm myself. But then again, Olivia was always fussy with her makeup and outfits. Perhaps that had slowed them down. They were a team now, and sometimes I felt like I was just a side note in their busy lives. Suddenly, my phone buzzed. The screen lit up, and I saw Liam's name flashing. I exhaled a breath I didn't realize I was holding and pressed the phone to my ear. "Hey son, where are you? I've been waiting by the check-in desks." There was a pause, too long of a pause. "Dad, we're already on the plane. You're not coming." His voice was flat, distant. The words cut through the air like a knife. I froze. My heart sank into my stomach, and I felt like the ground beneath me had suddenly disappeared. The noise around me, the hustle and bustle of the airport, faded away, leaving only the sound of his voice on the other end of the line. "What do you mean, I'm not coming?" My voice cracked, the disbelief setting in. I gripped the handle of my suitcase, feeling the leather creak beneath my fingers. Another pause, but this time I could hear Lydia's voice in the background. It was soft at first, then clearer as she spoke, dripping with sarcasm. "We'll finally have a vacation without this old man." She giggled then, a sound sharp and cruel that echoed in my head long after the call ended. My hands trembled, the phone nearly slipping from my grip. I opened my mouth to say something, to fight back, but Liam's voice cut through the air once more. "Look, Dad, it's better this way. You slow us down. We'll talk when we get back." The line went dead. I stood there, still and numb. The terminal was alive around me, the buzz of voices, the rush of footsteps, the endless announcements, but it all felt distant, like I was underwater. I could still hear Olivia's laugh ringing in my ears. I had paid for that vacation. I had planned everything, the flights, the hotel, the activities, everything. I had imagined us walking along sunlit beaches, sitting together at dinner, laughing, reconnecting. And yet here I was, abandoned at the airport, left behind by my own son and his wife. I took a step forward, then another, dragging my suitcase behind me. Its wheels squeaked against the polished floor, a pathetic sound that mirrored how I felt inside. I passed the coffee kiosk, the sour smell now burning in my nose, and headed for the exit. My hands fumbled in my coat pocket, brushing against the cold metal of my house keys. They were real, solid, unlike the promises I had been fed. Outside, the chill of the Portland morning hit me like a slap, but I barely felt it. I raised my hand to hail a cab, and within moments, one pulled up beside me. The driver, a wiry man with a graying beard, stepped out and grabbed my suitcase. "Rough morning?" he asked, tossing my bag into the trunk. I didn't answer. I just slid into the back seat, the door slamming shut behind me. The faint smell of pine air freshener filled the cab, mixing with the cold air outside. My hands were still shaking, my knuckles white as I clenched them in my lap. Olivia's words, the cruel mockery in her voice, played on a loop in my head. The driver glanced at me in the rearview mirror. "Hey, buddy, you okay? Where are we headed?" I didn't look at him. I said, "Home," my voice low and steady. "Take me home."
"Long day, huh?" the driver asked, his voice soft, trying to break the silence. I glanced at him briefly before looking away. "Yeah," I muttered, my throat dry. "Long day." He didn't push further. Instead, he glanced at the rearview mirror again. "Got family waiting at home?" I clenched my fists, the house keys pressing into my palm. "Something like that," I said, trying to keep my voice even. The driver didn't push, but I could sense the curiosity in his eyes. His voice was warm but cautious as he continued. "You know, I've got kids. They're all grown now, scattered across the country. Don't see them much." I nodded, looking out the window. I wasn't interested in his story, not now. I was consumed by my own hurt, my own anger. I pulled my phone out of my pocket and scrolled through my contacts. My thumb hovered over the bank's number, a quiet temptation. My hand tightened around the house keys in my pocket. "Hey," the driver's voice broke through my thoughts. "You sure you're okay?" I looked at him briefly, then nodded. "Yeah, I'm fine." But I wasn't. I was far from fine. The cab slowed as we turned into my neighborhood. The houses here were neat and well kept, but they felt hollow now, like they didn't belong to me anymore. My house was there, standing like it always had, but it didn't feel like home. Not anymore. I paid the driver, my hands still shaking. "Keep the change," I muttered, stepping out of the cab. The rain had slowed, but the air still felt heavy. I grabbed my suitcase from the trunk and headed toward the front door. My house, my life. They thought they could take it all. They thought they could leave me behind and I would just go along with it. But they were wrong. I wasn't the same man I had been, not anymore. I opened the door to my house, the familiar creak of the hinges greeting me. The smell of stale coffee and lavender cleaner hit me as I stepped inside. It felt like a ghost of the home it used to be. I dropped my suitcase by the door and walked through the rooms. Every corner seemed to hold a memory, but the memories hurt now. The kitchen, the living room, even the worn armchair by the window where I used to sit and watch Liam grow up, everything was stained with the past. I couldn't stay here, not in this house where they had turned their backs on me. I needed to do something. I needed to take control. I went upstairs to their bedroom, my feet heavy on the creaky steps. The room was a mess. Clothes scattered across the bed, a half-empty coffee mug on the nightstand. I grabbed a stack of cardboard boxes from the hall and started packing. Olivia's designer dresses went in first, each one a jab at my bank account. I packed Liam's gadgets, his smartwatch, a birthday gift I had given him not long ago. I packed everything that belonged to them, sealing each box tightly. As I worked, I felt a strange sense of satisfaction. It was as if I was taking back control of my life, piece by piece. I paused when I came across a photo on their dresser. It was a picture of Liam and Olivia on some beach, their smiles smug, their lives in front of them. I threw it in the box without a second thought. Let them keep their memories. They wouldn't keep my home. I heard the locksmith arrive shortly afterwards, his tools clattering in the hall. Pete, a wiry man with a toolbox, went to work, replacing the locks on all the doors. I watched as the new locks were installed, each click of the screwdriver making the change final. They wouldn't be able to walk through that door again without my say. As the rain slowed outside, I felt a strange calm settle over me. I had done what I needed to do. Liam and Olivia would understand the consequences of their actions, and they would learn. I stood in front of the window, looking out onto the quiet street. My reflection stared back at me. I wasn't the same man who had stood in that airport waiting for his son to show up. I was stronger now, and they would regret what they had done.